What is going on, everybody? It is Monday, March the 22nd, and that means it's time for my news radar. As always, this channel is 100% community supported. So if you have the time to consider becoming a member on YouTube, a patron on Patreon, or even just a subscriber here on YouTube, that would help us out a ton. Thank you. So let's kick things off with a little Surface Duo news. I know you guys and gals always do enjoy that. So we just got done installing the March update for the Surface Duo, which packed a few pretty big improvements, like a fix for the swipe up to go home gesture in phone mode, not having that weird delay, the weird lag that was there, as well as the screenshots in phone mode, now only taking a screenshot of the screen that you're using and not giving you an additional blank screen around the other side. Well, as soon as this update was pushed out, I started seeing reports from people on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, etc., asking if other people thought that the camera's image quality had improved. So of course, this is something that I want to test because I love taking photos on the go, and it's something that has been a big problem for me with the Surface Duo. Not only the image quality just not being that great, but also the weird gesture flippy floppy nonsense that it tends to do. Well, like I said, people were saying it seems like the image quality is a bit better, and it seems like the flippy floppy stuff is a bit better as well. So what did I do? Of course, I grabbed my Z Fold 2 and I grabbed my Surface Duo and I ran outside and I took a couple of pictures, and then I ran back inside and I took a couple of pictures, and I wanted to compare them. Now, I do want to say this. When I picked up my Duo to take the picture, I picked it up, I opened it up, and I unlocked it, and then the entire thing froze up, and then it rebooted. So that did happen. Then, when it was done, it was rebooted, I opened up the camera, I went outside, and I took the picture, and it seemed fine. There was no weird flipping screens that I didn't want it to do, and it didn't give me any of those issues. So maybe that's like a half win and a half loss. I don't know. Maybe it's not rebooted since then, so maybe that was just a weird thing it needed to get out of its system. I don't know. Hard to say as of yet. So let's jump over here to Twitter, because I did tweet these images out, and I tweeted them at different zoom levels so that everyone could see exactly what we were talking about. And I asked people to kind of give their opinion on what they were seeing. And we're going to do a zoom in here where you can see this full screen. But I wanted you to know that if you want to see these pictures yourself on your own device, go to my Twitter account and they are there for you to look at. Okay, so let's start here with the Z Fold 2 picture. And one of the biggest complaints that people have always had about Samsung phones is that they oversaturate things. Well, that's not really the case anymore. If you get anything from the S20 and newer, they've really reduced the saturation a lot. So I want you to understand here that the saturation here of the colors on this photo from the Z Fold 2 is actually quite accurate. This is pretty much what the eye was seeing in this image. So I want to give you a baseline here. The reason I'm showing you this is I'm giving you a baseline for what to expect on the Surface Duo. Obviously, I couldn't time travel and get back to my Duo before the update to take a picture. So I need to give you a control of some sort. So this is what you expect out of something like the Z Fold, which is a pretty damn good camera. When you zoom in, you see you've got good detail here, good detail along the roof of the barn, good detail in the wood grain here, and so forth. All right, now let's jump back over to the Duo. So the biggest thing that I immediately noticed is that the Duo is extremely washed out. And I want to really point out again, this is what my eye was seeing, pretty damn close to it. This is very washed out. This is a very muted image. Now when we zoom in and you look at the quality as far as the detail goes, it's not terrible, okay? It's not like it's a world apart from what I was getting on the Z Fold. But the big difference here is definitely the color profile. And now I hear you guys saying you can pretty easily go into edit, and maybe if you just hit auto, let's see what that does. And that brightened it up a little bit. You can go over here to your adjustments and you can go to color, saturation. Let's boost that up just a little bit. Let's pull up the warmth a little bit. That's going to be a little bit too far. That looks pretty good there. Let's boost that deep blue a bit because the sky looks pretty muted. All right, now, you know, look, I can totally see the perspective of, hey, look, now you've got a pretty similar picture, and that took me, what, 10 seconds to accomplish, but I do want to point out, you know, the differences between these two images. So then we jumped inside the house, and this is a kind of a corner in the studio here that is not super duper well lit. And on the Z Fold, you know, same thing, we're giving you a control here. You've got pretty decent detail here. You can actually make out Pixel 5 on the box. Things look pretty good. The colors are accurate. Back on the Duo, things are more muted again, and inside the difference in detail is stark. You cannot make up the text there at all. Lots of grain in the lower light areas, and generally speaking, this is just a bad picture. It just generally does not look good at all. So what does that mean? What does that mean in general for the camera on the Surface Duo? In terms of quality, the biggest thing I'm noticing is that things look really muted, and I can't quite tell if that's a new thing or an old thing. I need to take more photos to really be able to suss out if that is a new thing or not. I'd love to know from you guys, are your photos looking more muted than before? I'm not sure. But how about the detail? I'm not sure that I'm seeing any sort of difference there. I will say that it seems less finicky, less erratic in terms of behavior when switching screens. But in terms of actual image quality, I fear that this may be a little bit of wishful thinking, and this may be a little bit of a placebo effect, in particular because, one, I'm not seeing anything, and two, there's nothing mentioned in the changelog that the camera performance has been improved, and they have done that in the past. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments down below if you think you're seeing a difference. I'd love to know your guys' opinions on this down there. All right, we've got a couple of news stories here about the upcoming Android 12, which hopefully we'll get Android 11 on the Duo before too much longer. But Android 12 is being tested currently, and there's a lot of pretty cool things going on. So feature number one that I want to hit on is a one-handed mode that Android has been missing for so long. And obviously, a lot of third parties like Samsung have enabled their own single-handed gesture. And basically, if you don't know what this is, if you're using a large device like this, and maybe you're just on the front screen and you're having a hard time reaching up to that notification shade, well, there are gestures that will let you shrink things down so that you can easily reach that notification shade if that is something that you're needing to do. And on Samsung, you simply just swipe down at the bottom and there you go. It works super, super well. And if you're in tablet mode, you get the same kind of gesture. And it's pretty useful to have if you don't have the ability to reach up with your other hand. Maybe in something like Pokemon Go, when you're playing on this thing, it's a little tough sometimes to reach with your thumb up to swipe high enough. Or just to get your notification shade, swipe down, there you go, easy as pie. Well, now this thing is going to be a feature just in Android by default. Kind of crazy that it's taken this long to get here, but nonetheless, it looks like it is coming. We have a video here showing exactly what it looks like, and it looks pretty good. It's got the newer version of Android, kind of the momentum kind of jiggly thing going on, which is quite nice. And it looks like the gesture is going to be quite similar to what Samsung has done. Swiping down on that gesture nav bar down at the bottom will allow it to pull itself down. Pretty cool feature, and I don't know how it's not been here sooner, but I'm glad that it's coming. And let's close things up with another Android 12 feature that's coming. Guys, look, it's not a very busy news day, so we're going to count this as 2 news topics and just roll on. So one of the things that my wife does that confuses me is that she turns off auto rotation on her phone. She doesn't like it. She's one of these people that will lay in bed and will lay sideways like this and will use her phone, and she doesn't want it rotating when she's doing that. So she turns off auto rotation. Now, something that they've added in some later builds of Android is a button so that when you rotate, you'll get a rotate button. So you've got auto rotation turned off. It detects that you've turned your phone, and it's like, you don't want that on, but we're going to put a button there. So if you want to turn it on for this moment, you hit that button, the app rotates, and then when you go back home, you're back to not being rotated anymore. I thought that was a good step in the right direction. However, now Android Headlines is reporting that they're going to test a face-based auto rotation in Android 12. See, this is a feature you could potentially enable where the camera will be watching your face and it will determine, is your face in the same orientation as your phone? And so if your phone is like this, but your face is like this, it's going to rotate. But if you're both locked like this, it might not rotate for you. It might keep things locked. This is a pretty interesting feature. And you see here in a screenshot, auto rotate on face-based. Although they do mention the feature does not seem to be actually working. It doesn't seem to be fully enabled in Android 12, but it is something that's there in the settings. Now, obviously, there's privacy concerns and so forth there that you might have, like, okay, my phone's just watching my face 24/7. Is this going to hurt my battery? You know, is anyone gonna have access to this footage of my face just constantly looking at me? You could definitely see where those concerns might come from. Although my main concern might be battery life, just the idea of the camera being on all the time. But it looks like a pretty interesting feature for those of us that don't just have auto rotate on all the time. Hopefully we'll know for sure how this thing works as they do roll out more developer previews of Android 12 in the near future. So guys, that is all the news I have for you today. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next news radar. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.